When you sell a property, you want to sell, if you can, using a contract for deed. And you're just sandwiching yourself in the middle. Who makes the most money? Always the bank. They don't care what you're going through. They're like, I'll just take the property back. When you sell a property, you want to sell, if you can, using a contract for deed. Why is that? I retain title, and if you default, I file forfeiture instead of foreclosure. And forfeiture gets me my property back. So you might want to write that down, what is forfeiture, and then go look it up later. But it's a much faster way to get the property back. So I like to sell using a contract for deed. Now, do I want to buy using a contract for deed? No. Not if I can avoid it. Because why? Same reason. If I miss a payment by accident, because I have 100 of these things, and our admin just screws up, and then I get this actually happened to us, where we got a pissed off seller who was going nuclear bomb on us, saying, you missed a payment, what the hell? And we were like, we don't know, let us look into it. We've been making payments. Well, what happened is we were using a servicing company to make the payments. And so we made payments to them, they made payments to the mortgage company would then cash our, everybody would cash the checks, and we thought we're all good. Well, what happens every April? Taxes readjust, property taxes. And when the tax is adjusted by $8, all of a sudden, we sent the money went over, they declined the money, they sent a check back to the original owner, and we didn't know for 60 days. And then the old owner's credit got hammered for being late. And now she is nuclear on us. And we're like, we didn't know what's going on. And next thing you know, an attorney gets involved, and what do they want to do? Take the property back. And we're like, you can't take the property back, it's our property. We already have a freaking lease option tenant in there. And they were like, here's Arizona statutes. It says if you put less than $20,000 down, that we get to take the property back within on the 31st day of the da-da-da-da. And we're like, oh, they can actually take the property back if they wanted to. And thank God we worked through it and got her credit back on track and all that stuff. But it was a great lesson for us on a couple things. You gotta have your admin down. If you're gonna be doing these creative finance deals, you have to have your admin down. You have to be organized. And the other thing is you gotta know the rules. We took that property over using a contract for deed, but we didn't know how fast that they can take it back if we missed one payment, all right? So let's start working through this. Seller owns the house free and clear, and they're stuck on price. What is the strategy? Seller carryback. All right, cool. Seller carryback, also known as seller financing. Owner will carry is a form of financing where the seller of a piece of real estate loans the borrower money, right, to be able to buy the property. Said another way, it's seller-assisted financing. Can you seller finance on the front and seller finance on the back? Yes. And you're just sandwiching yourself in the middle. Now, when you sell using seller finance, guess who you become? The bank. Who makes the most money? Always the bank, right? So who doesn't have to do repairs and deal with tenants or toilets? The bank. They don't care what you're going through. They're like, I'll just take the property back, right? So that's how you get your money back in, all right? So in a normal transaction, this is what it looks like. There's three things happening all at one time. You are the borrower. You go to a bank. I want to borrow money. The bank says, fine. So you're going to fill out a note, which is the terms of the loan. They make you jump through 50 million hoops. Good job, credit, all that stuff. And then they're going to loan you the money. And then when the seller transfers the title over to you, the property over to you, you're going to sign a mortgage in some states or a deed of trust in other states. So what's Arizona? Trust deed state. Who lives in New York or New Jersey? Who lives in a state where you close with an attorney and it's a mortgage state? Where are you from? Atlanta, Hotlanta, right? Okay. So when those three things are happening, right? And then they're gonna lien the property to secure their loan. So that's the visualization. So what are we doing in a seller finance scenario? We're just switching the bank out for somebody who's much more easier to work with. Same thing happening, Now it's just me and you working out a deal. And whatever we agree to, we can do. All right, that's how easy it is. This is why I love working free and clear leads. So benefits from the seller's perspective, they're gonna be able to get a lot more buyers. Rural areas, properties that we buy a lot in like small towns like Kingman and Bullhead City and stuff. These are like double wide trailers on a lot. They own the dirt, but they have like a double wide manufacturer home on the property. And it might be a $60,000, $80,000, $90,000 property, but it's all beat up. It's from the 70s. Great rental. It's a rental market. Hard to finance. Not a lot of people go into a bank and lending money on a double wide trailer in Kingman, Arizona. So they have to sell using seller financing. So those small markets are great to market in and just say, hey, let's work out a deal. You seller finance me and I'll just make you the payments. So they open it up to more buyers. They get their asking price. Closing process is very fast. Terms are flexible. They can sell it as is. From the buyer's perspective, you get to bypass the banks. Terms are only limited by your imagination. Closing process is faster. You're not limited to 10 properties, no credit checks, potential for payment to go towards principal, less out of money out of pocket a lot of times. So a lot of benefits for us. Now downsides, from our perspective, there aren't a lot. The only downside is I gotta explain to the seller why this is a good deal. Now, if you have Freehouse Formula, who's got Freehouse Formula? In there, I created a cartoon video that you literally download and send to them, and it explains the seller finance scenario for them in a 4-minute cartoon. Makes it real easy. Seller financing or seller carrybacks are easy to explain. It gets harder when you're like, let me explain a subject to you or a wraparound mortgage. That's where it gets more complicated. That's when those cartoon videos are really helpful. From the seller's perspective, there is something out there called the Dodd-Frank Act. If you are dealing with like a landlord and they have 30 properties, they can't just seller finance you 30 properties without doing it properly, because you're limited to how many you can do per year. All right. And the other, I guess, would be, crappy thing is if you default as the buyer on a seller finance deal, the owner, the person that seller financed you has to go through foreclosure in order to get their property back. So there's something else out there called a contract for deed. Okay, we're gonna talk about that tomorrow. A contract for deed is another way to sell a property. Just think of it like on terms instead of like layaway. Instead of actually getting title, when you do an agreement for sale or a contract for deed, you're making payments and you get the title at the end.